was a typical Madhavikutty entity in terms of a short fiction?
Ultimately, I have come face to face with the sea. In the beginning, the sea was only the wind's ceaseless whisper in a shell. But lying beside my grandmother, quite often I thought that I could hear at night the surf breaking on the shore. The sea was only 2 miles away. That is long ago. I don't think I have been a feminist writer, because the kind of feminism I get acquainted with annoys me, because there's kind of hostility towards men. I can't understand it. To regain your balance, you need to love. And love means a bit of surrender. I think a woman is most attractive when she surrenders to her man. My husband asked me to write the autobiography when I was 37, and I was very ill, lying in the Bombay hospital, room number 565, and that was the time. An editor had come visiting, and he told my husband that he'll pay my hospital bills. So a typewriter was brought into the room, and because of the pain I could not sleep, so whole night I would type. That's how it began. But everybody expected me to die, including Dr. Goel who had treated me. Goel was the heart specialist. But after about 4 years, I saw him at a party, and he said, "A ghost who walks, Kamala Das, you're alive," and glowing. I was glowing with health. I've been lucky. Dying, resurrecting myself over and over again. So I think the autobiography was written, and later I should have regretted the writing of it, because I threw in a bit of fiction to thicken it, because by itself my life was not strong enough for a book.
For a generation of women writers who had been fed on the well brought up prose of Nayantara Sehgal or Kamala Markande, who were very genteel, let us say, and never shocked anybody, and you never suspected that behind their unruffled prose there was any hurt, pain, or of a sexual nature. Suddenly you had Kamala Das with her very vibrant personality, which at a time when celebrity writing hadn't become such a burden and cross as it is now, her persona overtook her writing in the public mind. But when you did read her, it was so refreshing and so vibrant that I think, beginning with myself, a whole generation of writers, women writers, took sustenance from her. Kamala Das was a very effective, very, in her way, sparse yet sensual writer, and somebody whose very serious writing was hijacked by a press that sensationalized her hungrily and quite omitted to look at her as a literary figure. She was completely without a sense of shame about her body when she wrote, and at a time when India was still deeply mired in marital hypocrisies, she could talk as a human being, as many people have done before her and after her. But at that moment she became misunderstood, I feel, as a writer, and diminished. I think her prose is very effective, very spare, very sensual at the same time, which is a difficult balancing act, and it has a lot of depth. And also sexuality and sensuality are metaphors in her for so many other arenas of power equations, of divinity, of mysticism. I think she was a very serious writer who will be re-examined, is being re-examined.
I was child, and later they told me I grew, for I became tall, my limbs swelled, and 1 or 2 places sprouted hair. When I asked for love, not knowing what else to ask, He drew a youth of 16 into the bedroom and closed the door. He did not beat me, but my sad woman body felt so beaten. My poetry today, an answer to the question that had plagued me all my life, right from childhood to now. I'm answering. My poetry today gives the answer. No groping around. Nothing can scare me. No ghost in my mansion. Somehow, forever I'm trying to be rid of my past, to unshackle myself so that I move away, farther and farther away from my past. Because I don't think the past was as interesting as the present. I sold my past. I distributed it. I called everybody for the dinner and I said, eat a bit of my past, all of you. Drink a bit of my past. And they drank the wine of my past. And they ate the flesh of my past. And I feel battered, weaker for it.
The interesting thing about Kamala Das for me is that she comes from two traditions. She melds two traditions. When she was young, she read all of the Western classics. She read Maeterlinck and Victor Hugo, and she comes from a brilliant family of scholars, of classical Sanskrit scholars, her granduncle was the translator into Malayalam of Victor Hugo. Her mother is one of the greatest poets in India. So these two traditions came together to make a kind of a writing that was free in a way that most writers can't be, and sophisticated, profoundly sophisticated, and yet told in a voice that's so accessible and so moving and touching that it can reach me across the sea. The other thing is that her words, her metaphors, because she is such a true poet, not cluttered with computers or tape recorders or technology, but true in her mind to poetry. Those words come out of her even as you're being friendly with her and talking normally. And those words jolt me. And they bring me to another space. They make me transcend my mundane self. And when they do that, they give me joy. There are many Kamala Das's, and I guess the one that I identify with, or the one that I like to think of when I think of her, is the Kamala Das that wrote this poem. It's called A Blessed Life, and that's interesting because often she says she has a hard life. True, I broke a commandment or two, but I shall not plead for society's pardon or God's. When I disobeyed, I tasted bliss. Indeed, I count myself blessed, not for the fame or fortune, but for those wanton hours of pure abandon.
I'm trying to hold on to the innocence of my earlier days. I was told once by my grandmother, you can't trust strangers, please don't trust them. And then suddenly I have come to realize that society holds only strangers for me, and I have been trusting them. So it's a damaged view that I have now. But then I suppose if I hadn't had this exposure to vice and cruelty, I would not have lived as a poet. I would have made an excellent professor of English. When I die, do not throw the meat and bones away, but pile them up and let them tell by their smell what life was like on this earth, what love was worth in the end.